There we go. There we go. Great. Okay, we're live. Cool. Okay, so currently I am attempting, hopefully successfully, to, on a live site, turn on PHP debugging. And I'm doing so by going in through FTP. The first test is going to be just to add a PHP page, which I will call test. So let's see, new file. Here we go. In that file, we're just going to do the PHP info. So let's see how that goes. Boom. PHP version 7.2.22. Let's try to update that, because we can do better. I think 7.3 is stable enough for me. And this is the cPanel on the back end of my A2 hosted site. And PHP version, let's do 7.3. Set as current. So hopefully that will reload the PHP server. Is that what we call it? I guess the MySQL server, which takes care of PHP. All right, so let's go back to my test page and reload. There it is, 7.3.9, perfect. All right, so now we can see where the INI file is located. Boom. Then I can go to that file. Almost there. Then I can load that up in Atom. And let's see, this file is only 1177 lines. Huh, okay. Let's find error reporting. It is set to EL. Good. Now let's find display errors. Let's turn that on. Now let's go back to the live PHP info. We'll find display errors. Okay, now we need to reboot PHP, because yeah, you need to force it to reload the INI. So how do we do that? PHP. Let's hit Google. feel like we're getting there. I bet I can just tell the tell this to just save changes. Some of these are interesting. PDF. Anyway, set as current. And once that goes, what we will do is check PHP info. Display errors is still off. Oh, the upload failed, that's why. Permission denied, okay. Let's try it from the file browser. All right, this might be harder than I thought. All right, let's try that. So log into the cPanel, use the file manager, navigate to the directory where you want to modify the behavior of PHP. Okay, so that for me is going to be in home and then public. And then PHP. We don't have one. So new file, php.write. And then I think all we got to do is add the PHP directives to the new PHP INI. And the directive is that. Now, how do you start an INI file? Let's start with that. And then we're just going to add in that one directive. That's it. Okay. Then we'll set the file permissions. So file get info, command I would have worked. And permissions, and print out 6.4. That's fine. So what next? Okay, so I really only doing this for testing purposes, but let's see if that directive applied. So I have this test.php file in the same directory. Oops. What if I copy the entire file? Okay, so now the entire file is copied. Let's close out all these. Okay. And let's open this up and make sure the changes took. Good. One more time. Reload this bad boy. Spare is off. Reload the PHP again. Well, what do I set the permissions to? Six, 4, 4. Let's try 666. Let's just try giving 777. Fuck it. about now? Still off. What if I force it to change versions? Server API. Light speed. I think I'll have to talk to them. So I'm going to talk to support. This is taking quite a turn. Yeah. Number 4 in the queue. All right. Now I'm just kind of exploring. No database defined. What about pair? All right, we're number 1 in line. So just to remind ourselves, what we're trying to do is be able to edit the PHP INI file on a live server being hosted outside, so that we can turn on display errors for ourselves, but eventually for future clients, for actually current clients. While we're waiting, I'm just gonna
each iteration of the
keep
loop.
going.
Echo is also going to be super helpful when we start working with databases, because we're going to assemble SQL statements in a variable and then send that statement off to the database. If we don't get back the results from the database that we expected, we can echo that statement and see what was the SQL statement that we had constructed.
Mm-hmm.
We can examine it for errors. The second one they've already seen is print_r. Remember, that's for printing a readable array. Works with arrays and makes them output in a much more user-friendly way. Remember that this is going to look best if we surround it with HTML pre-tags. That will allow it to preserve the white space and make the formatting even nicer. The third one we've seen before is getType, and that just returns the type of a variable. Maybe we're working with a string when we ought to be working with an integer. Well, getType can help us to identify that. There's also some new ones that we should look at, the first of which is var_dump, and that's going to take everything that
this support article. This is a confusing one. Probably easier to jump on the phone with someone, to be honest. Let's try forcing a downgrade. Oh, wait. You will need to add your custom PHP settings to a file name .user.ini. Hey, that did it. So for PHP 7.0 and later, it's .user.ini. Cool. All right. So that's done. So how do we get that to display errors? Hasn't done anything yet. Let's log out. And let's force an error. So test display errors. Well, anyway, let's keep watching.
Everything that it knows about a variable and just dump it out for you. It's going to return the value. It's also going to return the type. And if it's an array, it's going to give you a nice friendly output of that array. It's essentially doing what all three of the functions up above it did. It's extremely useful. I think you're going to find that you use it a lot. The next one you should know about is get_defined_vars. And that's going to return an array of all of the defined variables that PHP knows about at that moment. Now that's not just the variables that you've defined, it's going to include a few other special variables that PHP uses. That's good, it's going to show us everything that PHP knows about variables. Another very helpful one is debug backtrace, and that's going to show you a backtrace. It's going to return it as an array. A backtrace, also called a stack trace, is a report of the function calls that have been made that lead up to a certain point in time during the execution of a program. It's like a report of what happened before you got to where you are now. Backtrace is in retrace your steps backwards. Let's try some of these. So I'm just going to open up basic.html. We'll do save as. We'll call this debugging.php. Change the title to debugging. And I'll create my PHP tags. And I'm just going to assign a couple of variables here. I've got number equal to 99, string equal to bug question mark, and array equal to an associative array. So I've got keys and values there. So let's try this var dump. We won't try the first three because we've already used those before. But let's start with a var dump. Let's just do var dump and $number. Let's go try that out in the browser. Localhost. And for me, that's going to be at Kevin Skogland, sandbox, debugging.php. There you go. I got back int 99. It's telling me it's an integer and the value is 99. I even got some nice color formatting on that. Let's go try the next one now. Just copy this and paste it, and we'll change it from number to string. Let's take a look at what that does. String, here's the value, and it tells me the length of it. Nice little added bonus there. And let's try it one more. We'll try it with array. Save it. There we go. See how it gives me a nicely formatted array? I didn't even have to use pre-tags around it. I went ahead and just said, here's the array. There are 3 elements in the array. That's its size. Here they are. 1, 2, and 3 are the keys. Here's the values. And it went ahead and further broke down that value and said that value is a string. Here's the value of the string, and here's the length of the string, just like it did up here for this one. So you can see that's super useful, right? Let's take a look at another one. Notice that the var dump actually did the output. You didn't need to say echo or anything like that. It dumped it to the screen. That's what it does. Now we're going to take a look at get defined vars. So let's do PHP and
that's
get.
what I want to test. So I want to see what that'll do on my server. So get defined vars. That's over in test. Go back here. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. Keep that open. Get rid of that. And here we go. Nothing. I bet we're going to find that we need to echo it. So, echo. Array to string conversion on line 2. Let's try that. Nice. What if we just without the echo? All right, that's fine. Can we put that in pre's? Let's do that. Pre echo. Wasn't what I was really hoping for. Pre dot. No. Well, let's see what it did.
The page, you'll see we've got nothing back. Why is that? Well, it's because what it does is it returns an array. Put BR tag in here. So we need to echo that out, but it's an array, so there's no point using echo. We could use print R, and that would work. And remember that print R looks best when we surround it with pre-tags.
Oh, surround that with pre-tags, okay. So I wasn't far off. So oh yeah. Let's comment this out. Save. And go back to that. There it is. Okay. Nice. So array, so get, host, cookie, files, server, request, env, globals. Yeah. So if I define a variable now, within that, let's do test. Let's do foo. I like foo. Foo equals. Now we should get that as 1, 2. Yep, down here. So the variable comes in square brackets, and that shows the value. And I don't know why there's a 1 down there. Maybe that's what it returns. Okay. Great.
Here, try that out. And here we go. The long list, you see there's lots of these that are things that we didn't set. But if you scroll down here to the bottom, you'll see here's number, string, and array. Here's those values for it.
Oh, let's make sure I can do that other one. Var dump was it? So. Float.
So that can be useful to find out a lot about the variables that PHP knows about. Because that's so long right now, I'm just going to comment that out. And then we'll move on down to the next one, because I want us to try out this backtrace. Now, debug backtrace also does not output, it just returns an array to us. So let's go ahead, PHP, but this time, instead of using print R, I'm going to use var dump debug backtrace, all one word. So let's just try that and see what that gives us. And here we are, array size 0 empty. That's
okay. So let's try that. So yeah, let's get rid of all this. So I guess the PHP doesn't have to be the very first thing, at least on this document. I know on some PHP documents the PHP delimiter needs to be the very first thing even before any white space, but that must be on a different kind of file. Okay, so let's do a new PHP thingy, and then let's do var dump. debug backtrace. Array 0.
Well, if you think back to what I told you about debug backtrace, it's a report of the function calls that have been made that lead up to a certain point in time. Well, we haven't made any function calls here, so we need to do that. We need to have a function call. I'm just going to bring up one of the functions that we've worked with before,
Okay.
and that is the say hello to. Say hello to word, remember this just outputs everyone. Let's just bring that up so we can see it first of all. Hello everyone. That's what it does. All right, so let's say that we're in the middle of debugging this and there's a problem. We can just do a debug backtrace right here. So let's do var dump and then debug backtrace. So we'll do it right after that line, and then we'll hit return. You'll see that it comes back and it tells us, here we are, the array size 4, and it has the file that we're working in. See, it lists where the file is located. It lists off the line number, so line number 33 is where we are, and the function that we're inside of. We're inside the say hello to function. And then the arguments that have been passed in, it also tells us, and that's an array, and everyone was the string that was passed in. So we get all sorts of useful information from inside that function. And if we have several functions, we have functions inside of functions or files that are calling other files, it'll trace its step backwards through all of those and show you all of them. It can be very, very useful. Now, PHP does not have an official internal debugger. Some software...
Let's figure out what just happened. So if we had a function, let's call it hello, and let's say it literally just does what hello. That's it. So they're saying you put this inside the function, and then when you call the function, you get information. So let's try that. So you get an array, the file, the string, line. What's line? Is that where it starts? Oh no, that's where it's run. Okay, that's where it's initialized. Function returns a string, so the function that args is a 0 array. If I included words, notice undefined variable words on line 13. I bet that wouldn't be there if I disabled errors. So let's open up our custom INI file. So we just forced an error. So now let's reload. Yeah, nice. Now we're getting somewhere. All right. So that's what it would look like on the front end. So that's a notice. So let's flip it. Let's do takes words, but we don't give it words. That's probably going to be a fatal error. Yep, nice. Uncut argument count error. All right, let's give it to it. So statement. Not a variable that exists. So that's just a notice because we're passing a null value. And then if we define the statement, so was people. No notices, no displays, no errors displayed. And we just get an array for the args, which contains one string people are people. Now there's some language when if you pass in an argument and you don't use it, it yells at you, which I've never found helpful. I think it's Python. Anyway.
Now, PHP does not have an official internal debugger. Some software programs do have a debugger built into you. It can help you debug things. But there are a couple of third-party tools that are worth knowing about. The first of these is Xdebug. And Xdebug is probably the most popular debugger for PHP.
Xdebug.
It offers things like showing you that stack trace whenever you have an error automatically. It logs all of the calls to your functions. It will make your var dump output look even prettier. All sorts of things like that it'll do for you. It's a really nice companion to have. Another alternative is DBG. You can go to their website and look up more information about that. And then the last one is fire.php. And this uses Firebug for Firefox. So if you're familiar with Firebug, it's a useful, popular add-on to the Firefox web browser that gives you more information about what's happening on a web page. And FirePHP enables you to log debug information to your Firebug console from your PHP application. So that can also be really useful. As I said at the beginning, this kind of debug code is a temporary measure. It's meant to only be there while we solve the problem. Once we're done solving the problem, we want to make sure that we remove that code so that it doesn't accidentally end up in our application permanently.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for taking PHP Essential Training. We've learned the fundamentals of writing code in PHP, and you should feel comfortable adding PHP code into an HTML website. PHP features such as variables, arrays, conditionals, loops, and functions are all fundamental programming techniques, which will help you in learning other programming languages too. You can build on this PHP foundation by learning to create more complex PHP-driven pages and by using databases to help you to manage content. You can get started by taking my course, PHP with MySQL Essential Training, where we discuss links, forms, data validations, and how you can create, read, update, and delete data in a database. By the end, you'll be able to create your own content management system to make it easy to maintain website content. I look forward to seeing the creative ways that you find to add PHP to your projects. Until then, happy coding.
Cool. So that is it for this course. I always like to see if I can get the credit. Did I get the credit? There we go. Nice. All right. So let's look at his other one. PHP. I think I've actually started this. So that's 5 hours and then 3 more hours. Beginner. What about PHP WordPress? WordPress plugin development, developing secure sites, installing and running WordPress. Let's look at these by release date. What's new? Topic PHP. So by release first. Well, with the basics of this out of the way, the next thing I got to do is debug a WordPress site. So we're going to learn WordPress debugging. So anyway, thanks for sticking with me for PHP, and I'll see you in the next one.